What if you could buy rental properties with no money down and you could retire a millionaire by purchasing rental properties without any money out of pocket? Hi, my name is Justin Van Riper, and I'm going to go ahead and be delivering this training to you here today. So, I'm going to start with the 20% down myth. So, most traditional lenders will say that you need a 20% down payment for rental properties. So, for instance, if you're buying a $100,000 property, that would require you to come up with $20,000 out of pocket. So, what if you're looking to, purchase 5 properties or 10 or 20? That 20% down payment can really add up. So, how are we able to get around the down payment issue? So, since this is a refinance and not a purchase, a traditional lender will not require the 20% down. So that's a huge difference right there, is that this is going to be a refinance and it's not going to be a purchase. So that's the way that we're able to get around the 20% down. So instead of that, they're going to look at the current value of the property. So a long-term lender will finance up to 75%, sometimes even 80, of the new appraised value on a cash out or regular refi. The key here is that you must find properties that you can purchase and rehab for less than 75% of the ARV, which is the after repair value. That's what the property is going to be worth after it's fixed up. So, how does this actually work? So, you're going to purchase and rehab the property with cash, and I'm going to get to some options that you can use cash for, or a hard money loan. So, you're going to purchase and rehab it, then you're going to rent the property out, then you're going to refinance into long term traditional financing, and then repeat. You're just going to keep doing this over and over as much as you'd like, depending on your goals. So, what are the funding options for cash? So, actual cash, of course, is king. So you can also use money that you have in a checking or savings account. You can use a home equity line of credit, which is also known as a HELOC. So if you have some equity in your house, you can get a home equity line of credit. If you have, you've been in your own primary residence for 5 years or 10 years, or the market has just gone up, or you bought the property, right? If you have equity in your primary residence, you can oftentimes get a HELOC that essentially would work like cash. This line of credit would work that way for you. Maybe you have money in the stock market that you would like to transfer to invest in real estate. It could also be a self-directed IRA. So if you've got a retirement account, oftentimes you can switch that over to a self-directed IRA. Those allow you to invest in real estate. Maybe it's also, family and friends that you can, kind of borrow the money from, that, they're just not happy with the returns that they're getting on their current investments. Maybe they just, have some extra capital to deploy. You could always reach out to, family or friends. You also can, you've got loans as an option for funding these deals as well. So like I said, cash is always king, but there are options. Not everyone has that type of cash to be able to purchase and rehab these properties with. So there are options for just about everyone. So you can get a hard money loan, which is, it's just simply short-term financing. So they generally have pretty high interest rates, and you typically have to pay points, and you might have to pay for an appraisal and some other costs. So they are somewhat expensive, but the key here is that a hard money loan will fund the purchase and the rehab. So normally when you get a loan, they're just going to fund the purchase, and then any of the renovations you'll have to come up with out of pocket. That is not the case with the hard money loan. So that's why they can be very appealing on properties that might need some work. They will fund the purchase and the rehab for you. So this loan is primarily based on the value of the property. Some hard money lenders will have certain requirements for the borrower, but for the most part, these properties or these loans are based on the value of the property. So, like I said, this can be a great option for people to get into these properties because they will fund both the purchase and the rehab amount. Another option is, private money loan. So this could be, once again, from friends, families, coworkers, anyone that might have some extra cash that they're looking to get a safe return on from a tangible asset. Real estate being a tangible asset as opposed to maybe cryptocurrency that they're currently investing in, which is very volatile and is not, really a tangible asset. If you can find someone who is looking to put some money to work, they're looking for, another investment, you can reach out to them about loaning to you with a private money loan. So oftentimes these terms, they're more flexible and they can be, negotiated a lot easier versus say a large hard money lending company where their terms and rates and things like that are pretty fixed. So I want to give you an example of a property that we actually sold here in the St. Louis area. So it was a 3-bedroom house. The sales price for this was $57,000. The rehab cost was $30,000, and the ARV, the after repair value, what it was worth after it was fixed up, was $116,000. So for our investor, they got into this property at 75% of what it was worth. So they were left with 25% equity right off the bat. And then it was going to rent for $1,350 a month. So let's look at what those rental projections would look like. So you've got, the yearly gross rent. So that's simply taking the monthly rent and multiplying it by 12. Then we're subtracting out management, maintenance and vacancies, taxes, insurance, and the estimated mortgage payment. So after we subtract all those expenses, we're left with a net operating income of $2,748. So obviously these are all projections, but we do try to account for a lot of things. For instance, having 10% for maintenance and vacancies gives us a little bit of cushion there. It may be that you have a tenant that lives in the property for 5 years and you never have to fix a single thing. You obviously wouldn't have any vacancies, and then that's just extra cash flow for you, but we like to account for that. So you're left with a net operating income of a little over $2,700, but there's way more to it than that. So most people think of, ROI, their return on investment, as just being cash flow, but there's 3 other ways that you're going to profit off of these properties. So one is depreciation deduction. So you can depreciate the value of the property, not the land. You have to subtract out the land, but you can take the value of the property and divide it over 27 and a half years, and you can get a depreciation deduction, for tax purposes. So in this example, it's a little over $3,000. Another thing is appreciation. So typically, real estate appreciates 3 to 5%. Recently, it's been much higher than that, but historically, we use a number that's around like 4% for appreciation. So the property has also appreciated for, about $4,600. Another thing is that you're paying down the mortgage. So keep in mind with a mortgage, the way that the amortization works on a mortgage payment is that at the beginning, you're paying a much higher percentage of interest than you are principal. So even in year one, where you're paying the most amount of interest that you're going to pay on the entire life of the loan, you still are paying down that mortgage by $850. Once you get further on in the loan, you're actually going to be paying that mortgage down at a much higher rate every year. But I'm taking just year one numbers, so that number will get even better over time. But when you add that $850 plus the appreciation, the depreciation, and then the net operating income, the cash flow, you're left with a total income of $11,256.24. So, what does this actually look like in 30 years? So, remember from our last example, the yearly net operating income was a little over $2,700. Over the course of 30 years, that property is projected to bring in a little over $82,000 of cash flow. But remember, that's just cash flow. We've got a lot of other things that we're making money on these properties with. So if the property appreciates at just 4% over the next 30 years, it is now worth more than $376,000. So you also own this property at this point free and clear. So even if you got a 30-year mortgage, which you can always get a 15-year mortgage and pay it off quicker, but even if you got a 30-year mortgage, you own this property, this asset, free and clear now, that is worth $376,000. So when you combine that with the cash flow, with the net operating income that you received over the last 30 years, from this one property, if you want to sell it, you're looking at over $458,000 in profit from one property. And the cool thing about this too is that after refinancing, our buyer had no money out of pocket into this deal after they refinanced. So they created close to $500,000 in profit without having to invest hardly anything. So that's the power of this strategy here. So what do we provide for you? So we supply properties that are going to fit this model. That's probably the hardest component about all of this, is finding properties that you can purchase and rehab at 75% or less of what it's going to be worth of the ARV. So that is the hardest part. What we do here on these properties, we analyze them personally, each and every one. So what we'll do is we'll get onto the MLS. That's where realtors, list all the properties for sale. That's the best database that you can ever find for running comparable sales or comps. So we run our comps directly from the MLS, so we're able to provide very accurate ARV numbers. In fact, we're so confident in our ARV numbers that we will guarantee the appraised amount. So we will guarantee, if we say, hey, the ARV is 150,000, we're guaranteeing that the ARV appraisal will come back at least $150,000. If it doesn't, then you have no obligation to purchase the property, and you can just back out of the contract without any penalty towards yourself. So we are very, very confident in the numbers that we run. We will also analyze the property as a rental for you as well, and we can give you projected cash flow numbers and things of that nature as well. So that's something that's very, very valuable, is being able to supply these types of properties and to properly analyze them with someone who has had a ton of experience doing this, has done this many, many times over, and has been a full-time real estate investor for 13 years in the St. Louis market. We're also very, very experienced working with out-of-state investors. Have done that many times before. So you may be thinking, oh, I don't want to purchase properties in a market that is not my own. I completely understand that concern. However, we can mitigate a lot of that risk because we have referrals for everything that you would need to be successful investing out of state. So we've got referrals for short-term lenders, for long-term lenders, for contractors, for property management companies, insurance, whatever you may need. We have referrals for anything that you would potentially be looking for. So what are the requirements for working with us on a one-on-one basis? So you must have at least a 620 credit score, and you must be able to show at least $35,000 a year in income. So this works for W-2 employees or self-employed individuals, but you need to be able to show at least $35,000 a year in income. And you can't be a jerk. We are going to be working with you on a one-on-one basis, so we want people that are easy to work with here. So next steps, if you or someone meet the requirements for credit score and income, we can get you funded. So that's a really cool thing. We can not only provide you with referrals for the short-term financing, like a hard money loan, and for the long-term financing, but on top of that, we can also get you additional funding to work on these deals. So even with a hard money loan, there's going to be some initial out-of-pocket cost. Now, a lot of times when you go to refinance on the back end with the long-term fixed financing, a lot of times you can get those costs back, but you will at least initially need funds up front for the hard money loan. We can get you funding for that. So we can help you to pay for the points and any upfront fees that the hard money lender or short-term lender might charge you. We can get you funding for that. So if you're interested, text no money down to 314-470-1917. Once again, that's no money down. Text that to 314-470-1917. And then we can always schedule a time to jump on a quick call. You might have more questions, and we're more than happy to help answer those for you. But text that first, and then we'll schedule a time to jump on a quick call. So a quick summary here. Create up to $458,000 in profit from each and every property you buy. So remember, that's just from one property. So if you want to buy 10 properties, multiply that number by 10, and now you're looking at more than $4.5 million in profit if you just buy only 10 properties. You can buy these properties with very little or potentially even no money out of pocket. You can also invest passively. That's a nice thing too about rental properties. We also provide everything that you might need. So we provide properties. We have financing to get you started. Then we also have the lenders, so the short-term lenders, the long-term lenders. We've got contractors, property management companies. Whatever you might need, we have those resources for you. So I'm going to pull up the next steps again. So if you're interested in this program and you want to work with us on a one-on-one basis and you want to start purchasing these properties with no money out of pocket and you want to create significant wealth for yourself, then go ahead and text no money down to 314-470-1917, and then we can go ahead and jump on a call. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. My name is Justin Van Riper from Real Estate Investing STL, and I look forward to working with you guys. Thank you.